When we think of cowboys in the Wild West, Hollywood usually shows them feasting on giant steaks and hearty meals around a glowing campfire. The reality couldn't be more different. Life on the trail was harsh, and food was never about luxury. It was about survival. In this video, we're uncovering 10 foods that cowboys really ate in the Wild West. And trust me, it's not what you think. 1. Beans. Pinto beans were the backbone of cowboy cooking. They were cheap, easy to carry in bulk, and could feed an entire crew of hungry men. Beans were boiled in big black pots over the fire, sometimes flavored with onions or salt pork if the cook had extras. Most days, though, it was just plain beans, morning, noon, and night. Cowboys even joked that the only variety they got was whether the beans were burned or undercooked. 2. Hardtack and biscuits. Hardtack was a cracker so hard you could break a tooth on it. Made from flour, water, and salt, it was designed to last for months without spoiling. Cowboys usually had to dunk it in their coffee just to chew it. When the cook had more time, he'd make biscuits in Dutch ovens buried in coals. They weren't soft and fluffy like modern biscuits. They were dense, smoky, and often a little burnt. But after days of chewing hardtack, a fresh biscuit felt like a luxury. 3. Coffee, the lifeblood of the cowboy. Cowboys boiled it strong, black, and bitter, usually in a big pot right over the campfire. No filters, no sugar, no cream. Just thick, gritty coffee with grounds floating at the bottom. They drank it all day, sometimes even chewing the leftover grounds for an extra jolt of energy. Cowboys used to say, "Coffee's thick enough to float a horseshoe," and that wasn't much of an exaggeration. 4. Salt pork and bacon. Cowboys didn't have refrigeration, so meat had to be preserved. Salt pork was greasy, salty, and tough, stored in barrels of salt to keep it from spoiling. It wasn't delicious, but it was dependable protein. Bacon was a real treasure on the trail. A few strips fried up and mixed into beans felt like a feast. Cowboys often said, "Beans without bacon is like a saddle without a horse." 5. Jerk strips of dried beef, venison, or even buffalo were lightweight, portable, and lasted for weeks. Cowboy could chew jerky while riding, almost like trail rations. It was tough, salty, and sometimes almost impossible to bite through, but jerky was vital insurance. If meals were late or supplies ran low, a strip of jerky kept a cowboy going until the chuckwagon was ready. 6. Sourdough bread. Many cowboy cooks carried sourdough starters, jars of living yeast that could be used again and again to bake bread. They'd mix up dough and bake it in cast-iron pots buried in hot coals. The bread was heavy, tangy, and smoky from the fire. Not soft or fluffy, but filling and reliable. Some cowboys treated their sourdough starter like a loyal partner, feeding it with flour to keep it alive through the whole cattle drive. 7. Son-of-a-gun stew. This was the cowboys' version of mystery stew. When fresh beef was available, nothing went to waste, not even the organs. The cook would throw in liver, heart, kidneys, and sometimes even brains, boiling it all together into a stew. It wasn't for the faint of heart, but after a long day on the trail, hungry cowboys would eat every last bite. 8. Wild game. When supplies were running low, cowboys turned to hunting. Rabbits, deer, and even buffalo were fair game. Whatever the cook could shoot or trade for ended up in the pot. Fresh meat was a rare change from beans and salt pork, and the men looked forward to it. But hunting took time, and cattle drives didn't always allow for it. So wild game was more of a treat than a staple. 9. Foraged foods. Cowboys sometimes gathered wild onions, berries, or cactus fruit along the trail. These weren't meals by themselves, but they added flavor and vitamins to an otherwise plain diet. Wild onions, for example, could spice up beans, while berries were eaten fresh or mixed into bread when available. 10. Slumgullion stew. This was cowboy slang for a pot of leftovers thrown together. Beans, scraps of meat, old bread, anything that was lying around. It was never the same twice, and it usually didn't taste great. But wasting food wasn't an option on the trail. Slumgullion was survival cooking at its finest. So there you have it. 10 foods that cowboys really ate in the Wild West. No steak dinners, no Hollywood feasts. Just beans, biscuits, jerky, and whatever they could hunt, bake, or boil over a fire. Which of these meals would you actually try? Beans and bacon, or maybe a bowl of son-of-a-gun stew? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed uncovering the forgotten diet of the Wild West, make sure to subscribe for more lost foods and hidden history from America's past.